Today we're learning about nutrition periodization. Now, just as you would follow a training program that is designed to produce a specific intended adaptive response in a planned manner, your dietary intake should also be periodized to support this process. So quite simply, you don't want to eat the same every day. You want to eat and fuel with intention specific to your overall goals, whether that's health and performance related or health and performance related as well as body weight and composition related. You want to fuel for the work required, so the specific demands of each training session and then the timing of that session. So if you remember back in the first video, I emphasized the most important thing to focus on is meeting your daily energy needs. So within this framework, we can also be more specific and adjust fat and carbohydrate up and down based on the relative energy demands from training. So for a particularly hard training day or during a hard training week, you can adjust your daily carbohydrate intake up to meet the fuel demands of the training. And to compensate, you can adjust your fat intake down in order to maintain your energy balance. Now, generally, your protein needs will not vary much from day to day. Now, if you're looking at a prolonged recovery period, such as a transition period or off-season, your carbohydrate needs might be lower, so you can then, in compensation, increase your daily fat intake. During a training block, the ride type, the volume, and intensity will vary from day to day. And so for this reason, some rides can be fueled with higher carbohydrate intake rates than others. Now for easier aerobic rides, you can take in closer to 30 to 60 grams of carbs per hour, and this equates to about 120 to 240 calories from carbs per hour. For harder, closer to threshold and above rides, 60 grams of carbs per hour might be the low end of your intake. And this also goes for very long rides. Depending on how comfortable you are with this intake rate and how experienced you are with cycling and training, you could increase your daily or your hourly carbohydrate intake closer to 90 grams of carbs per hour or more. And the reason for this is that as the intensity increases, your muscle relies more heavily on carbs to produce ATP compared to fat. And remember, our carbohydrate stores are limited in the body. Finally, your recovery nutrition should also be specific to your training in order to maximize the adaptive response. I will talk more about recovery nutrition in a separate video, but particularly after a long, hard session or when you have another upcoming hard training ride or event, you want to refuel with carbohydrates and rehydrate as quickly as possible, ideally within 30 to 60 minutes of finishing your session.